The cameras flash, the crowd freezes, and just like that, Hollywood has a new obsession.
Right.
Or, well, an obsession they've been chasing for, like, 15 years. Welcome to Starscope Report. Join Jordan Jamie as they uncover Hollywood drama, music industry shakeups, and viral influencer scandals. From red carpet surprises to social media controversies, we dive deep into the stories behind the fame.
And today's story is, it's a wild one.
It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine turning down $400,000 every single year for 15 years straight just to avoid putting on a pair of dancing shoes.
Yeah, that's a lot of money to walk away from.
Exactly. You have executives begging you, fans clamoring for it. You have this guarantee of a massive career bump waiting at the finish line, and your response, year after year, is just a brick wall of a no. Today, we are looking at this ultimate Hollywood standoff. The headline we are building around is, John Stamos reveals why he keeps rejecting DWTS.
And it really is a masterclass in career optionality. Because when you look at the mechanics of modern celebrity, the expectation is that once you hit a certain level of legacy fame, you just inevitably plug yourself into the reality television machine, right? You have to maintain your market value.
Right.
But Stamos is doing the exact opposite. He is actively preserving his leverage by just refusing to participate in an ecosystem that he doesn't control.
Exactly. And to unpack how he's doing this, we pulled together a great stack of sources today. We're looking at entertainment reporting from Parade and Geo News, an e-news broadcast, a really in-depth feature from Prime Timer, and this very revealing SiriusXM interview summary.
Yeah, those are some solid sources.
So our mission today is to look past the surface-level gossip and decode the actual economics of reality TV, the psychological burden of typecasting, and the deliberate mechanics of how an actor sheds a famously wholesome image to build something authentic.
Yeah.
But wait till you hear what came next, because the standoff gets hilarious.
It really does. You have to start by looking at the sheer bluntness of his refusal, because it tells you exactly how he views the entertainment industry's demands on a performer's physical and emotional capital.
Right, so let's get into this July 2026 appearance Stamos made on a podcast called the Bobbycast, which is hosted by Bobby Bones.
Yeah.
Stamos is on the mic. The topic of Dancing with the Stars comes up.
Mm-hmm.
And he reveals the producers ask him to join the show every single season. Every year, they knock on the door.
Every single year.
And his answer isn't that standard PR deflection, like, oh, I have scheduling conflicts. He explicitly tells them, stop. Don't ever ask me again. I'm never going to do that show.
Which completely strips away the polite fiction of Hollywood negotiations. I mean, he isn't holding out for a better contract. He fundamentally rejects the premise of the product.
Yeah.
He goes on to explain that, from his perspective, what makes the show good television is the spectacle of people suffering and looking like fools. Yeah, he specifically cites the physical toll, the calluses, the broken feet. He is looking at the core mechanism of the show, which is extracting physical pain and vulnerability for audience amusement, and saying, I refuse to be the raw material for that factory.
And this is a boundary he has been enforcing for over a decade. If you go back to the sources from 2010, the pro dancer Karina Smirnoff publicly requested Stamos as her dream partner.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, and Stamos immediately took to Twitter to shut it down. He said he was flattered, but he's not a dancer, and he would put his foot in his mouth faster than John Mayer.
That is a perfectly timed 2010 cultural reference, but more importantly, it's a public establishment of a really hard boundary.
Totally. What's incredible, though, is the compromise he did make that same year. In 2010, he actually did go on Dancing with the Stars as a musical guest.
Right, he performed with the Beach Boys.
Exactly. So he's willing to stand in the ballroom, he's willing to leverage the show's audience to promote his music, but he strictly refused to do any dancing. He kept his boundaries entirely intact.
Yeah, he drew a line in the sand.
But jumping back to his recent interview on the Bobbycast, there is this incredible real-time collision of worlds that happens while he's ranting about hating the show.
Oh my gosh, it is a phenomenal piece of audio. You can just hear the realization hit him that he is entirely disconnected from the reality television ecosystem.
Right.
Because he is sitting across from his interviewer, Bobby Bones, and suddenly realizes that Bones not only competed on Dancing with the Stars, but actually won season 27.
The dynamic completely flips. Stamos is utterly shocked. He starts interrogating Bones, saying, wait, you were on there, you won. And then he playfully calls Bones a jackass.
Which is so funny.
Yeah. Why? Because Bones ended up beating Stamos' Fuller House co-star, Juan Pablo Di Pace. And Stamos points out that Juan Pablo was getting perfect 10s every single week, to the point where Stamos joked he was going to call ABC because he thought the whole thing was rigged.
It reveals this fascinating hierarchy of loyalty, right?
Yeah.
Stamos is so detached from the reality TV world that he doesn't even know the resume of the person interviewing him.
Yeah.
But he is fiercely, almost tribalistically loyal to his television family. He is holding a grudge on behalf of his co-star's perfect 10s from years ago.
It makes me think of how software updates work on your phone. You know when your phone constantly prompts you to install the new OS, and you keep hitting Remind Me Tomorrow for literally 15 years?
Yeah, constantly.
And the developers know you hate the new interface. They know you're stubbornly holding on to your current operating system, yet the automated prompt just keeps showing up.
That's a great way to put it.
Which brings up the core question of this deep dive. If the producers know he fundamentally rejects the premise of the show and refuses to suffer for their cameras, why do they keep pushing that update? Like, why ask him every single year?
Well, to understand that, you really have to look at the underlying financial architecture of the show, and specifically this concept of customer acquisition costs.
Okay, break that down for us.
The producers aren't asking him because they think they can suddenly convince him to love the Paso Doble. They're asking him because John Stamos represents a massive multi-generational built-in audience.
Right.
He is an efficiency mechanism for their ratings. When they cast a legacy star, they aren't just buying that person's time. They are acquiring the millions of viewers who grew up watching them.
Okay, so let's bring the actual math to the table here, because the numbers in the reporting are staggering.
Yeah.
If you look at the pay scale for a celebrity on Dancing with the Stars, it is heavily front-loaded just to get them in the door.
Yeah, the upfront check is wild.
The base salary is $125,000. That is just for signing the contract and committing to the initial weeks of training, which is about 20 hours a week.
Right.
But then it scales up dramatically. If you survive to weeks 3 and 4, it's an extra $10,000 a week. Week 5 is an extra $15,000. And if you make it to the semifinals and the finale, they're throwing in an extra $50,000 a week.
Exactly. So the incentive structure is designed to keep that built-in audience engaged for the entire season.
Yeah.
Because if a celebrity makes it to the finale, they are walking away with roughly $360,000 to $400,000. Bobby Bones even confirmed on a separate podcast that his winning season netted him close to that $400,000 mark.
Which is a massive payday. If you're loving these Hollywood twists, make sure you're subscribed. By the way, we've got even crazier stories ahead. But let's look at this, because this completely flips traditional logic when you compare it to what the professional dancers make.
Oh, the disparity is huge.
It really is. The pros, the ones who are actually risking their bodies, choreographing the routines, and carrying the celebrities across the finish line, they're making a fraction of that.
Yeah.
The sources report the pros start around $1,600 an episode.
Yeah.
With top-tier veterans maybe negotiating up to $5,200 an episode.
And that's capped, right?
Yes. Their salary is capped at $100,000 for the entire season. So the celebrity gets $125,000 just to show up on day one, while the pro is capped at $100,000 for months of grueling labor. Why is the economic model inverted like that?
Because it's not actually a dancing competition. It's a relevance engine.
A relevance engine. I like that.
Yeah, the economic model is built around the idea that the celebrity is the billboard and the pro is just the scaffolding. The network has a finite budget, and the return on investment comes from the celebrity's followers tuning in and viewing the advertisements.
Right.
The pros are essential for the product to physically function, obviously, but they are treated as interchangeable labor within the corporate budget, whereas the celebrity is the irreplaceable marketing hook.
That makes total sense from a corporate perspective. But let's look at it from Stamos' perspective. For a working mid-level actor, $400,000 is game-changing money. But for someone with John Stamos' level of syndication wealth, I mean, Full House is essentially a utility at this point. It is always airing somewhere on the planet.
It really is.
Right. So is the financial incentive actually the main draw for legacy stars? Or is signing up for reality TV inherently a step down, like a concession that your primary acting career is stalling?
That is the pivotal question for any legacy actor, and it brings us to the mechanics of the halo effect.
Okay.
Because for many of these celebrities, the $400,000 upfront check is actually secondary to the long-term corporate synergy the show offers. Dancing with the Stars is part of the massive Disney and ABC ecosystem. When you do the show, you aren't just dancing, you are auditioning for vertical integration.
So it's about cross-promotional synergy.
Precisely. Look at the data points we have. Alfonso Ribeiro won season 19. He parlayed that exact win into hosting America's Funniest Home Videos, which is another ABC property.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, and eventually, he became the host of Dancing with the Stars itself. You look at Derek and Julianne Hough, who utilized the platform to launch massive Emmy-winning careers, touring shows, judging gigs.
Right.
The show functions as a highly effective rehabilitation and relaunch pad for careers that need a jolt of mainstream visibility.
It's an investment in your own market relevance. But Stamos is looking at that entire synergistic machine, the guaranteed money, the potential hosting gigs, and he is setting a hard boundary. And he isn't the only one.
No, not at all.
The sources note a whole club of celebrities who have famously rejected the premise. Lindsay Lohan turned it down. Caitlyn Jenner said no. Celebrity chef Bobby Flay revealed his wife actually threatened to divorce him if he went on the show.
It just highlights that the cost of entry, the 20-hour training weeks, the physical destruction, the emotional vulnerability of being critiqued on live television is a toll that many high-net-worth individuals simply refuse to pay, regardless of the halo effect.
And just to underscore how absolute Stamos' boundary is, I found this amazing piece of trivia in the reporting. He actually dated current Dancing with the Stars judge Carrie Ann Inaba back in the 90s.
Wait, really?
Yes. She confirmed it on The Talk, referring to him as the loveliest human being. So he has a friendly connection right there on the judges panel, and he still refuses to step onto her dance floor. And that's not even the wildest part of how he's handling his legacy, which we'll get into right after this. Stay tuned and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming next.
Because he recognizes that the environment itself is a trap. He won't do it for the money, he won't do it for the corporate synergy, and he won't even do it for the friendly face at the judges' table. He is protecting his physical and creative autonomy.
So if he is actively rejecting this $400,000 corporate relevance machine, nature abhors a vacuum, right?
Right.
Where is he actually deploying that creative capital? If he isn't looking backward at the reality TV safety net, what is he building?
He is deploying all of that capital into actively overwriting his own legacy. The sources paint a very clear picture of an actor who is aggressively seeking out challenging divergent roles that just shatter his pristine, family-friendly persona.
Right.
Like he recently wrapped a horror comedy film called Drag, scheduled for March 2026, where he is playing a villain. He is also starring in Netflix's The Hunting Wives, which he characterizes as a dark, wild series.
And he is incredibly deliberate about this strategy. In one of the interviews, he explicitly stated, "I'm never going backward. This is forward."
Yeah.
You know, if you think about it, a character like Uncle Jesse functions a lot like a highly profitable legacy software system for a company.
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
Right? Like, it generates a massive amount of revenue. Everyone is used to how it works, but the code is so old that you can't actually update it to do anything new. If you want to run modern, complex programs, you have to eventually abandon the legacy system and build something from scratch, even if it's risky.
That is a brilliant way to frame it, because for decades, his entire public operating system was defined by that specific, wholesome code. And before he could launch these darker, more complex roles, he had to figure out how to mentally compartmentalize the ghost of Full House.
Which is hard to do.
Very hard. But there is a deeply illuminating anecdote from the sources that takes place in 2012, which shows exactly how he managed that psychological shift.
Oh, I love the mechanics of this story.
Yeah.
So it's 2012. Stamos is starring in a serious Broadway play called The Best Man, acting alongside the legendary James Earl Jones.
Right.
And Stamos is struggling. He is getting deeply frustrated because every night at the stage door, fans are waiting for him and just yelling his sitcom catchphrase, "Have mercy." Yeah. He feels trapped by it.
Yeah.
He feels like he isn't being respected as a legitimate stage actor.
He is feeling the full weight of that legacy software holding him back. But then he watches an interaction standing right next to him. A fan walks up to James Earl Jones, arguably one of the most formidable, respected stage actors in American history, holds up a phone and asks him to say, "Luke, I am your father."
And that is the exact moment the paradigm shifts for Stamos. He looks at James Earl Jones indulging the fan, and he realizes, forget it. That's it. I'm never worrying about Uncle Jesse again.
Yeah, it just clicks.
He realizes that if the voice of Darth Vader has to do the pop culture catchphrase at the stage door, it doesn't actually diminish the underlying hardware of his acting ability. The catchphrase is just a byproduct of success. It doesn't have to define your total capacity as an artist.
And that realization that he could stop fighting the legacy and just let it exist alongside his new work unlocked a profound level of authenticity for him. Because once you start aggressively guarding a manufactured, pristine image, you can start being honest about the messy reality of the man behind it. And this is where we see the starkest contrast between the manufactured vulnerability of reality television and the actual raw vulnerability of taking control of your own narrative.
Exactly. Because crying in a rehearsal studio, because the foxtrot is difficult, is a highly produced corporate form of vulnerability. What Stamos did in his 2023 memoir, if you would have told me, is actual life-altering accountability.
It really is.
He bypassed the PR machine entirely and laid out the darkest parts of his code. He detailed his intense battle with alcoholism, getting a DUI, and his subsequent 2015 stint in rehab in Utah, noting he hasn't had a drink since.
And the most striking mechanism of that memoir is how he deconstructs his own past narratives, particularly regarding his high-profile divorce from Rebecca Romijn in the early 2000s. For years, the public narrative, which he internalized, was that he blamed her for the split. But in the memoir, he exhibits a level of emotional maturity that you rarely see in Hollywood autobiographies. He admits that he was unfairly angry at her. He confesses openly that he felt emasculated by her rising acting career at the time, and that he thought she had outgrown him.
To understand the cultural weight of that, you have to remember that John Stamos was built up as the ultimate 90s television sex symbol.
Oh, totally.
For a guy whose entire early brand was built on effortless, cool masculinity to put in print, I felt emasculated, requires a massive paradigm shift. It is the complete dismantling of his own mythology. In the sources, he explains his reasoning for being so blunt, saying that sharing anything less than the truth is paralysis.
Anything less than the truth is paralysis. That is the operating philosophy of his reinvention. By addressing the alcoholism, the insecurity, the failed marriage with total transparency, he neutralizes anyone else's ability to use it against him. He isn't performing someone else's version of reality on a dance floor. He is writing his own authentic script.
Okay, but I have to push back on the idea of total reinvention here. Because we can talk about how he's taking on villain roles and writing this incredibly dark, accountable memoir, but the reality is he literally cannot escape the Uncle Jesse legacy, even inside his own house.
Right, yeah.
The sources note that his own 8-year-old son, Billy, actively weaponizes the catchphrases against him.
It is the ultimate humbling mechanism of hyperfame.
It is. When Stamos acts like a normal parent and tells his son to clean up, Billy will look at him and say, "Go put your Legos away," perfectly mimicking the tone of his dad's sitcom character.
That is hilarious.
And it gets even better. Billy actually used the Fuller House connection at school to impress a girl. He literally told a classmate, "My dad's on that show. He plays Uncle Jesse." So my question to you is, can a legacy actor ever truly overwrite their old code if their own family is using their most famous IP as a playground pickup line?
Look, I think it proves that true career optionality doesn't require erasing the past. It just requires not being confined by it. Think back to the software analogy. The legacy code is still on his hard drive. His son using the catchphrase is a funny feature of that old program. But it doesn't crash the system anymore. It doesn't stop Stamos from signing on to play a killer in a horror movie or writing a memoir about rehab.
Right.
He has successfully compartmentalized the legacy. He can laugh at his son weaponizing Uncle Jesse because he knows that character no longer dictates his ceiling as an artist or his reality as a human being.
That perfectly connects the dots. He isn't fighting the ghost. He is just refusing to let the ghost negotiate his contracts or dictate his schedule.
Precisely. And if we pull all of this back to the Dancing with the Stars standoff, you realize that his 15-year refusal is not just a funny quirk about hating calluses. It is a strategic defense of his own agency. By saying no to the reality TV machine, by turning down the guaranteed $400,000 and refusing to integrate into the corporate synergy flywheel, he is carving out the necessary space to redefine his art on his own terms.
It fundamentally changes how you view the concept of career power. We spend so much time in our culture analyzing what highly successful people agree to do. We look at the deals they sign and the stages they step onto. But this deep dive proves that true, enduring career autonomy often lies in the things you repeatedly, stubbornly refuse to do. By fiercely protecting his physical and emotional boundaries, Stamos protected his capacity to evolve.
He looked at the safety net that the industry built for fading stars, recognized that it was actually a trap designed to freeze him in place, and chose to keep walking the tightrope instead.
And that leaves us with a really provocative question to think about as you navigate your own trajectory. Whether you are managing a career, a business, or just your own personal growth, how much time do you spend trying to live up to the greatest hits version of yourself? the version that other people want to see because it's comfortable for them? Are you stepping onto stages and accepting roles that someone else built for you just because the applause and the paycheck are guaranteed? Or do you have the courage to walk away from that stage, endure the discomfort of uncertainty, and write a completely new, authentic script for your life?
It is a vital question to ask yourself every time you're presented with the path of least resistance.
Because sometimes the most defining, powerful thing you can do for your future is to look at the easy path and say, stop, don't ever ask me again. You've been listening to Starscope Report, where Jordan and Jamie uncover the stories shaping Hollywood, music, and pop culture. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.